right, yes, just a little bit more there, and, okay. This is a big spoiler, ladies and gentlemen. Spoilers for chapter 1085 of One Piece. If you haven't read it already, I am about to reveal to you the true appearance of the Gorosei. That's right, all 5 of them. All right, they take forms that no one would have ever expected. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you should stop the video right now, okay? Are you ready for this? I had to put on my glasses for this, all right? Yeah, totally. All right, here we go. Gorosei reveal in 3, 2, 1. Oh my god, look at them! They're so terrifying! They are truly eldritch monsters from Lovecraft himself! Okay, so, okay, honestly, though, not that far off. Not that far off. Oda made this fairly easy for me. I kind of feel like I'm a doctor right now, like we're taking, like, some kind of psychological test. I'm like, all right, what do you see here? When you look at this image right here, what do you think of? How do you feel? You know, okay, but no, seriously, last chapter, chapter 1085, we get the Gorosei's appearance. We also get Eam's new form as well, because Eam also transforms, but we're gonna save Eam for a later video, all right? Today, we're just gonna be talking about the Gorosei, all right? So, the Gorosei are there in front of the empty throne. Cobra is talking to Eam, or Mu, however you want to, you know, say their name now, because the Gorosei still refer to them as Imu, and then Imu refers to themselves as Mu, whatever. Like I said, later time, later video, okay? A lot of stuff to unpack here, okay? So, Sabo jumps out from behind a pillar. He was in the room the entire time. He attacks the Gorosei. He gets that hustle. He's like, he even says, I just wanted to take you all out at once. Which, you know what? Like, that's pretty good, because the idea of the Revolutionary Army, and Sabo even says this to Cobra, because Cobra was kind of a little surprised on why Sabo, the chief of staff of the revolution, is saving him, where Cobra is a king that is part of the government. So Cobra was a little bit like, why are you here to save me? And Sabo even clarifies, like, our beef lies more with the people that are above the kings and the queens, okay? We're dealing with the Tenryubito. We already knew the Gorosei were Tenryubito. That was already confirmed. So it makes sense that while Sabo was running through Pangaea Castle, because he was looking for the keys to free Kuma from his collar and the rest of the slaves, right? That's why he was there. He was at the guard quarters, and he ran into Bonnie, but you really get the impression Sabo was just like, you know what, I'm here. I might as well just swing in and see if I can kill all of the Gorosei, because this has been a thing for debate for a while now, and I don't even think the Revolutionary Army knew this. Can the Gorosei fight? Are the Gorosei strong, or are they just there as, like, you know, a governing body? You know, they don't really have any real capacity to fight on their own. Yes, they probably can fight a little bit, like Samurai Gandhi has a sword, obviously. We don't even know exactly how much the general public knows about the Gorosei. Like, do the Gorosei regularly appear in the newspaper? Do they do interviews? You know, tonight on One Piece Channel 9, Morgans has a sit-down interview with Samurai Gandhi. You know, like does that happen in the One Piece world? I would imagine, considering the whole premise of the world government is there's not a single person ruling it. I mean, there is, but ostensibly there's not. I would imagine the general public should at least know what the 5 Elder Stars look like. Like, their images, their appearance should at least be known through the world, so the world, like, at large, the citizens of the One Piece world can say, hey, we don't have a single king or queen ruling the entire world. It's ruled by committee, and that committee is, well, the Reverie Council, but also the 5 Elder Stars. And here's what they look like. You'd think they would at least know that much. So, the debate would be, and this was even in the fan base, you know, as reading the One Piece story, are the Gorosei strong, or are they just there? And a contention to that point was like, well, if the Gorosei are not strong, then it's not going to be any fun, pretty much. You know, if they don't have any forms, if they don't have any devil fruit abilities or hockey, it's like, what's the point? But then, when Eam showed up, it was like, all right, well, you know, maybe the Gorosei are just puppets of Eam the entire time, you know, and so that would make sense why they can't really fight, or they're not strong at all here. So Sabo probably didn't know. That was the point. Sabo knew the Gorosei were there. he, like everybody else, assumed they were the ones that ruled the entire world government. They were the head honchos. They were the ones that were in charge. Sabo did not know about Eam until the last chapter. And so Sabo was like, you know what? I gotta try. I gotta see if it would work. I mean, like, let's assume for a moment maybe the Gorosei don't know hockey. Maybe they don't have devil fruits. Maybe they don't have any special abilities. You know, it's not like that we would know. They spend 99.9% of their time in the room of authority, sitting on their comfortable couches at Marijois on top of the Red Line, inside of a heavily fortified castle. You know, like, Sabo's like, I gotta swing by and see if I can one-shot them with a fire fist. Who knows? Maybe it would work. I swing by, fire fist! Oh, okay, all the Gorosei are literally piles of ashes on the floor of the throne room. Okay, great. Revolution's going swimmingly right now, okay? Awesome sauce. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you know you got valuable information. And Sabo does. On top of Sabo learning about Eam's existence, he can now report back to Dragon and Ivankov and the Revolutionary Army at large. Hey, yeah, by the way, I tried to fire fist the Gorosei. Didn't work out too well. They didn't even really seem fazed by it. Also, they all have weird-ass forms that they can take. So, if anything, this is definitely an unknown factor. All right, I'm pretty sure, like the mystery of Eam, I'm sure the majority of the people in the One Piece world, and that doesn't just include the civilians, that includes the Marines, that includes, like, even, like, Sakazuki and Sengoku, who were fleet admirals. I'm sure even they did not know the Gorosei could take these forms, okay? I'm sure that they might have just thought of the Gorosei as a governing body and nothing else, okay? So starting with this one right here on the top left, this was the Gorosei that was to the immediate left of Cobra, who was Saint J. Garcia Saturn, the one member of the Gorosei that we actually have a name for, the one that is currently headed to Egghead right now in the story, might actually already be there. Something else I forgot to bring up is, remember at Egghead, we saw a mysterious silhouetted blob taking out the visual Den Mushis in the lab. And now we get introduced to all these Gorosei's weird silhouetted blobs. So that might actually be an effective way for Oda to showcase, like, all right, here's kind of a hint of what they all look like. And then when we cut back over to Egghead, we're going to be focusing on one Gorosei, who's going to be this one right here, from what we can assume. If this is the one that's to the furthest of the left of Cobra, and the positions did not change, this form right here is Saint J. Garcia Saturn, okay? You know, in the chapter review, I assumed it looked like a devil, you know, because it's got the horns and everything, like an Oni or something like that. Honestly, kind of looking at it again, I think he resembles more of like a bullfrog. I know bullfrogs don't actually have giant horns coming out of them, but it's Oda, and he loves puns, so a bullfrog, I don't know. You know what? It would be weird if it's like, okay, Oda could go a couple of directions with this, now that the Gorosei have an ability. By the way, we don't even know if these are Devil Fruit powers. I hesitate to even say that. For one reason, it's because, like, okay, let's say they're mythical zones or ancient zones. The reason I hesitate is because we just got done with a huge story arc, Wano, that was all about mythical zones and ancient zones out the wazoo, okay? All of the Tobiropo had ancient zone abilities, and then we have King and Queen that also had ancient zones. Jack as well. Don't want to forget about Jack. Actually, we're going to be mentioning Jack a little bit later. Kaido had a mythical zone. Yamato had a mythical zone. You know what I mean? Like, there was just so many zones. Luffy was revealed to have a mythical zone during Wano, for God's sake. It's like, we've really played up the mythical and ancient zone angle in this story. So that's why I kind of hope that Oda's not... I mean, like, it's okay for, like, one of the Gorosei to be in, like, a mythical zone or whatever. Like, I'm okay with that. But, like, if the gimmick with the Gorosei is they all just ate 5 mythical zone fruits, I mean, that's fine, but it's like, we kind of already just did this, you know what I mean, you know, okay? So that's why I hesitate to say they might not even be Devil Fruit abilities. They might be something else. They might be some kind of weird demonic power given to them by Eam, okay? Another idea is they might actually still be extensions of Eam, because Eam took a similar form, a giant silhouetted blob that emerged from the empty throne and came down and began to attack Cobra and everybody and chase after Sabo. They all had very similar appearances. So one of the reasons for that could have just been Oda's artistic style of, like, I don't want to reveal any of them, like, what they really look like yet, just their vague silhouettes and their blobby shapes and everything like that. I'm going to draw them all in the same way. Another way to look at it is, well, what if Eam has this power and gave the power to all of them. What if the Gorosei are just fragments of Eam, you know, and then Eam maybe changes their appearance every couple of decades or a century to, you know, it's like, oh yes, these are the new Gorosei, but they're really just fragments of their power. Could be something like that. But yeah, I mean, like, hey, if we're just gonna go with this, Oda could go really serial with all of them, and they all have really badass like forms of essentially Japanese deities or something like that. Or we could just go like, yeah, this guy's a bullfrog. Just like, why not? He's a big frog that has horns sticking out of his head. That's cool, right? So this should be Saint Che Garcia's Saturn. Moving on to the one here. This is the one that should be Samurai Gandhi. And the appearance definitely fits because he has a little bit more of a human appearance, kind of a long neck, and has like the ribbon thing kind of going around, the sort of like mythical zone ribbon thing, but might not be indicative of that. You know, I would imagine because Samurai Gandhi has a sword, which is most likely the Shodai Katetsu, I would imagine whatever transformation Samurai Gandhi goes into, they would still be able to use the sword. You know, he would still be able to pull out the sword and use it to fight. So, you know, if Samurai Gandhi transformed into something like this, you know, that looks like the Scream, all right? You know, like, I don't know if you could really use a sword like that. This one looks like a bird. Birds can't use swords. No. Yeah, birds cannot use swords. That would just be silly. And this one down here looks like a mammoth. So you would assume the one that would look the most human with like arms and legs, maybe not even necessarily legs, but definitely like a slim human appearance with arms to move around and swing a sword, it would be this one that has the ribbon, and that would be Samurai Gandhi. Okay, so let's just go with that one right there. This next one appeared a little bit later in the chapter. See, this is what confused me, because in that initial, I have it pulled up here, the initial appearance, when Sabo appears and then all of the shadows are behind him, okay? You see 4 of the shadows of the Gorosei very clearly, and then you see the big shadow emerging off of the empty throne, which confused me, because it's like I'm only seeing 5 shadows here, the 5 Gorosei, but then there's also Eam. So Eam definitely transformed as well, because Eam, like, ate the fire, the smothered mate that Sabo fired at them, okay? So then, you know, Eam appears in giant form, okay? So that was definitely Eam coming off down the throne. It's just that we didn't see one of the Gorosei, or we did in that panel, but it was kind of obscured. But there's a panel later where we see all 6. We see the 5 Gorosei in their monstrous forms charging at Sabo and Cobra as they're trying to get away, and in the background of all of them we just see the giant eyes of the big one, which is Eam, like, you will not escape, you know, something like that, okay? So this is the dude right here who kind of looks like the Scream, just yelling at them like, don't leave, we need you to stay, you know, so we can murder you, you know, or whatever. Okay, so yeah, we got that. And going by the same format here, this should be Sanji's uncle, or Judge's brother. I think I might have called him Sanji's dad back in the day, but then we actually found out what Sanji's dad looked like. They just look very similar. He's the youngest member of the Gorosei that has like the blonde beard and hair. He's the only member of the Gorosei that has hair that's not gray, because Samurai Gandhi is bald, okay? So all the other Gorosei have facial hair that's gray or white, and he looks like the youngest appearing member. He also has like a scar, I remember, on his chest. So I guess the scars were indicative of like they have at least fought before, you know what I mean? But like there's a difference in One Piece between fighting and like, all right, are you strong, or can you handle a point-blank fire fist from Sabo strong? You know what I mean, kind of thing going on here. So this is probably Sanji's uncle right here, this dude. And then moving on to the Burb, we have this giant bird who is the one that's like, they think, the most detailed out of all of them in terms of the silhouette. Like, it's very clearly a bird. You know, it has the beak outline. We have the wings, the feathers. Looks very similar to Big News Morgan's. Morgan's has just a regular zone. He has the Tori Tori no Mi model albatross. He turns into an albatross. So if there's one out of... Okay, if we're going to go down the mythical zone angle, like all 5 of the Gorosei, they just have Devil Fruit abilities. They're not abilities that were given to them by Eam or anything like that. They are just Devil Fruits, and they abide by the same rules of the Devil Fruits that we've had up until now. Which, by the way, that's something else you can't even take for granted with them, because it's like, maybe they do have Devil Fruits, but they're super special Devil Fruits that Eam themselves found or created created or modified or something like that. Or they ate a devil fruit and then Eem artificially awakened them or brought some other power to them or something like that. You know what I mean? You can't even take that for granted. But if we're going to go along the logic of, let's just say they do have regular devil fruits, this one having a mythical zone I think would be the most sense. And a lot of people have brought up the mythical birds of yore, of history, of mythology. So I'm a really big fan of Native American, lore and mythology and the deities that they worshipped. And I always love the Thunderbird for that reason. So if we had a Thunderbird mythical zone in One Piece, I would love that. Also, people have brought up the Garuda, which you might remember because when the Germa Double Six do their transformation, they all have a title, right? Okay, so you have like Poison Pink, Winch Green, Dengeki Blue, Sparking Red. When Judge transforms, he's just, Garuda. Garuda is a large mythical bird, okay? And so, boom, maybe this is the Garuda right there, okay? This is Gondoff, or Gonfal's brother. I always found it very interesting because when the Gorosei were first shown, I think it was right after Jaya or Skypiea. It was right around there. Because I remember seeing Skypiea, reading Skypiea, and seeing Gonfal and his appearance, like thin dude with a long white beard. And then we see the Gorosei a little later, not long after that. And then, sure enough, the Gorosei, there's a guy there that has a long beard. And I'm like, they look very similar, So I was like, is this Gondoff's brother or Gonfal's brother? Gondoff, Gonfal, both bearded old men. There you go. So, yeah, they transform into a bird. And then finally, this is the one that kind of messed me up because, like, the perspective was, like, bugging me. Like, I thought it was a wing or a tail. I think it was a tusk is what most people are looking at here. So there's this one off to the right. So this should be Gorbachev, the dude that has the birthmark that looks like, Gorbachev, and the giant mustache. And that would actually be very fitting because they transform into what appears to be some kind of mammoth-like creature. Now, Jack, that's what I mean. Like, Jack already has the ancient mammoth zone. Now, maybe he has the Mastodon Ancient Zone. Maybe, all right? There's others. But this is what I mean by, like, I think Oda is going to be a little bit more clever than that because if this is the appearance right here, if this is the appearance of, like, some kind of elephant mammoth, it's not something else. Maybe the silhouette is off or whatever. But, everybody seems to be on the same page. It's some kind of mammoth-like creature, some kind of elephant-like creature. It has to be something more than just, like, Mastodon. It's like, all right, we just did that with Jack. I mean, this is the Gorosei. Aren't they going to be more, impressive than that? But luckily, we do have a basis for this. We have Zunisha, who is a long-limbed elephant that is extremely relevant. Okay, an elephant that's relevant. Exactly. So maybe there's some connection to Zunisha there. Also, there's the story, I think it's in Hindu teachings, that's the world is supported by, you have the turtle as the base, and then the elephant on top of the turtle, and then the world is on top of the elephant. You have, like, something like that. So, there you go, right? So, these beings literally be mythical zones that are straight up gods or deities in human lore. You know what I mean? Like dragons, like Kaido's a mythical zone. He turns into a dragon. Dragons are often referred to as deities. Yamato is essentially a guardian deity as well. But like these things are like even on a higher tier than that. Like if we're going to go mythical zone for all 5 Gorosei, you really got to amp it up a little bit here. You got to go to the next level here. You got to go to straight up gods. All right? Like each of them have names. Like maybe Oda might take a page out of Lovecraft and just name one of the, like here's the Cthulhu zone. It's like, all right, you know what? If you're going to go that direction with it, I'm okay. You know, it's like, that's how it goes. You know, these are literally like this is the Thunderbird. It's not just like, oh, he has the appearance of a Thunderbird. He can shoot a little bit of lightning. No, he's literally the Thunderbird. He can sail through the skies and create thunderstorms and bring down divine death whenever they desire. You know what I mean? Like, if it's that level, then it's like, okay, cool. Or something completely different where we're going to shift over to, like, they are all fragments of Eem. They all share Eem's power. It's something similar to Devil Fruits maybe, but even greater. Also, if we're going to go along with the logic that, let's say Eem is this ocean god, or Mother Nature, Mother Ocean, as Vegapunk spoke about them. The whole point was that Mother Ocean detests the Devil Fruits. They're like an abhorrent existence to nature itself. Like they are the antithesis of nature, okay? Or the human desires bringing Devil Fruits into this world, okay? So if that's the case, then it wouldn't make sense for the Gorosei and Eam to have powers of devil fruits if that's the direction we're going with it. It would make more sense that Eam's ability is something separate from devil fruits on a godly level, but can give this power out to the Gorosei. Or, you know, we might not even have to do it like the Gorosei are fragments of Eam, like literally like birthed from Eam or anything like that. You could literally just have the Gorosei be regular humans, or at least they start out that way. They start out as regular humans, they join the court, and then Eam like provides them with some part of their abilities, of their power, and then they transform like this. But then maybe they're still mortal. They're not, you know, they're not gods themselves. They will eventually die, and when they do, that power is returned to Eam, and then another Gorosei is selected, another Elder Star is selected, and then pass down the power, and then there you go. It could have been something like that too. So let's talk about planets. We all love planets. I love planets. All right. So, let's see here. If I was going to go along with, like I said, the order here, we would have St. J. Garcia, Saturn, being the bullfrog demon-looking thing. The general consensus is that Samurai Gandhi is going to represent Mars, because Mars is the god of war, and if Samurai Gandhi uses a sword, and also, like, you know, the demon Katetsu, if it is the Shodai Katetsu, a lot of people have been putting their placing their bets on Samurai Gandhi being Mars, so we'll go with Mars with that. Now, I was a little bit upset here. Here's a little bit of a conflicting thing. But I realized something about Gorbachev, you know, about One Piece Gorbachev, not actual Gorbachev. And so if this is Gorbachev down here, which I'm pretty sure it is, because the giant tusks are reminiscent of the epic mustache that Gorbachev has, okay? In the chapter, I mentioned that he's got, like, ears that look like wings or feathers, and that's very indicative of Mercury, or Hermes, that is the messenger of the gods, that has a helmet that has wings. And we see that in the silhouette. However, something else that I realized, Gorbachev has the birthmark on his forehead, this giant red splot on his forehead, okay? Guess what? Jupiter, the planet, the gas giant, has a giant red spot right on it. So I'm like, okay, as much as I like the idea of, like, the little feathers because Hermes, I think it would make 1,000,000% more sense for Gorbachev, the Gorosei member, that turns into a massive mammoth, elephant, mastodon-like being. And by the way, there's other related species that I think might even be bigger, because you got to understand, like, the mammoths lived, like, during the time humans were walking around, but there might have been, there was, you know, ancestors to them that even stretch back even further. So who knows? You know, maybe there was even a bigger one, and that's what this thing is. But anyway, yeah. So Jupiter with the red spot, Gorbachev, red spot, birthmark, it might have been once like a callback to Gorbachev himself, but also like, oh, Jupiter. If they're all named after planets, I wonder who's going to be Jupiter. Maybe the one that has the giant red birthmark. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there we are. So, and also giant mammoth, Jupiter is the largest planet, largest gas giant. You know, Jupiter is Zeus, father of gods. So, yeah, sure, go with it, all right? So, yeah, I'm going with, okay, I'm going with Bullfrog Demon being Saturn, obviously. I'm going with, you know, human-esque ribbon guy, spooky sword dude being Mars. I'm going with giant mammoth mastodon elephant being Jupiter. So that leaves Venus, and that leaves Mercury. Okay, and now it makes more sense because Mercury is the messenger of the gods, is very fast and has wings or winged shoes, kind of. You know, doesn't have wings himself, but he has like sandals that have wings that make him move. Mercury moves really fast, and so, okay, in that regard, we have a giant bird. Okay, now people have looked through this and been like, oh, well, the bird could represent Venus, the bird could represent Mars, the bird can represent Jupiter, because there's just been there's so much symbolism with the planets, obviously, throughout the history and the gods that they're attached to, that you could pretty much find a similarity between any of these to any of the planets if you really wanted to stretch it. But if we're just going literal here, you know, big giant mammoth dude is Jupiter, and the bird that can move really fast probably and fly around and is a messenger, I'm going to go with Mercury, and then just by process of elimination, that leaves the scream dude being Venus, which, like I said, doesn't really fit super well, but this is the one we see kind of the least. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something that Oda could spin there with Venus representing this dude. And then there's Earth, which could be Eem himself. Although I've seen another theory that's really cool, that Eem, because referring to themselves as Mu, nothingness, void, it can also represent infinity. Maybe either Eem represents a black hole, you know, like sucking everything into it, or represents just the vacuum of space, just space itself, void. You know, either or. And also is kind of funny, and we'll get into this when we talk about Eem in their dedicated video, but the fact that it's the empty throne, and it's like, well, nobody sits on the empty throne because Mu, void, emptiness, sits on the throne. It is an empty throne, just not in the context you thought. See, I love this shit with Oda. I love it. It's like, it's the empty throne, meaning no one will sit there. No, it's the empty throne, meaning void sits there. Yeah, there it is, right? Okay, so there you go. Anyway, yeah, those are where I'm placing the bets right now. So yeah, we're gonna go Saturn, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter down here. And then, of course, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, or Pluton, you know, the three ancient weapons. Luffy is the sun god, and then the moon could represent a few different things. But, and then the Earth itself could be, let's see, if Eem is the void of space, or like a black hole or something else, some other nature thing. Maybe, I don't know, you could kind of go just like, oh, the Earth represents humanity or something like that, you know, or like maybe not a specific character, but you could definitely do that as well. But yeah, so that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the 5 Gorosei's appearance. And now, we're moving on to a new animal fact. Letter V, we're talking about vultures. I don't have an intro for vulture facts yet. Let's see, what tune can I do for vulture facts? Okay, I'm trying to think. It's been so many animal facts at this point. I got to figure out with another beat here. Okay, let's try this. Vulture facts, vulture facts. Everybody loves those vulture facts. Ah! Vulture facts, vulture facts. Eating that carrion, it's vulture facts. All right, there we go. All right, so vultures, you know, vultures get a bad rap. You know, a lot of people look at vultures and they just like, he's like, ew, vultures, disgusting. You know, because most of the time when you see vultures, and they live in this area, you know, where I live, Pennsylvania, a lot of turkey vultures around here. You'll see them on the side of the road, beaks, you know, covered in just blood and viscera and organs as they're just gnawing away at a dead deer on the side of a highway. Look, listen. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Can you imagine what the world would be like if scavengers and decomposers did not exist? You know, like, oh my God, the dead bodies, the corpses would just be rising up. You know what I mean? Like, now we have plants and fungi that are decomposers as well, that break things down. But sometimes you need something a little bit more direct. And that's where you get vultures, okay? Vultures are there to exist on scavenging. They eat carrion. That's what happens. Ooh, a dead deer on the side of the highway. That's yummy. And then they all come down and they flock around the dead deer, and then they peck at it and rip it to pieces, and then boom, you don't have rotting meat anymore. And plus, it's going to feed another life form. It's the circle of life. It's truly beautiful, right? Of course. I think it's because also you look at a vulture, they don't look particularly beautiful, okay? Just like, ooh, they're ugly. So here's some vulture facts for you. There's currently 23 extant species of vultures. So that's actually less than I thought, and that's worldwide too. That includes condors. In case you were curious where condors fit in, condors are a species of a vulture. Let's see. There's New World and Old World vultures. So there's vultures, you know, when the split happened, you know, Pangea and everything, you know, South America into the New World, and then Africa is the Old World. You have vulture species that live on the plains of Africa, and then you have vulture species over here in the Americas. Like I said, like turkey vultures exist around here. Now, there's a couple of things about vultures that is really fascinating, one of which is kind of disgusting, but, you know, they're vultures. A lot of stuff that they do involves, you know, disgusting things. So, they have a really cool way of thermal regulation. I think a lot of times when you picture a vulture, you'll think of a vulture like circling overhead in the middle of, like, the Mojave Desert or something like that. So they have to have a way to keep cool and to keep warm, depending on, you know, during the day in the desert is very hot. The night in the deserts get very cold. So during the nights, they will actually have this very hunched form. You see a vulture kind of like hunched over. That's their way of staying warm. During the day, they will flap their wings a lot to, increase air and just like airflow, and just like they'll stretch out their necks a bit. But they also have another method of keeping cold during the day, and it's they pee on themselves, which, okay, now it's like, all right, so these things dig around all day in the corpses of roadkill, and they pee on themselves in order to stay cold. Yeah, there's a reason why vultures have a bum rap. But you know what I mean? It's like, come on now. It's just like, it's nature, all right? Hey, they're out there doing their thing, all right? Yeah, all right. Anyway, that's beginning. Oh, and yes, the term for a group of vultures is called a kettle of vultures. And the term for when you have a bunch of vultures around a piece of carrion actually eating it on the side of the road is a wake, which I feel like is kind of funny. It's a little bit because it's like, get it? It's a wake. You go to a wake for like a dead relative, and oh, there's a wake of vultures devouring like, a dead boar or something. You know what I mean? There it is. Okay. Well, hey, man, roadkill, free food, somebody's got to eat it. You know what I mean? All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. TechEgg signing out. Later. Glasses? No glasses. Glasses? No glasses. I mean, at some point in our lives, we're all going to have to at least wear reading glasses. I mean, eyes, they degenerate over time. So at some point, probably when I'm in my 40s or 50s, I'm going to have to wear glasses anyway. I think I can pull it off. I think I pull it off pretty good. Yeah, I'll be all right.